So I'm here, Sanskriti Joshi. I'm a Salesforce consultant and I'm a trainer. So I have experience within the Salesforce ecosystem. So in a couple of years, I have worked with some industry professionals who are into the Salesforce platform in order to make the platform more better as per the business processes. We used to do customization as per the admin way or through the coding way, and we that's how go ahead and proceed ahead. So in a similar way, I also train people on the platform, and yeah, that's all about me. So today we are going to cover one of the really important topic of Salesforce admin, that is Salesforce flows. So without flows, Salesforce admin features are not that much, interesting. Flow is something that puts some spice inside it. So today we'll be going to talk about it. We'll be going to deep dive around like all types of flows. What are the different ways to automate Salesforce platform? So yeah, that's all about it. And one more thing before getting dive into this particular thing deeper, I would just like to request one thing. If you have any queries, if you have any question, feel free to ask. I'm there to help you out. If that's something which I have already explored in my experience, and I'm very 100% sure about that particular approach, if that's 100% optimized one, then I'll answer you right away. And if I think that's something that is coming into my mind, it is something ad hoc and not too much optimized, we can say, then I'll get back to you. Because being into the platform, being working onto the cloud platform, we always have to make the customization in most optimized way. So this is the one of the rule that any Salesforce developer or admin should follow, most optimized solution. So let's get started. So as you can see, what is Salesforce automations? So automations is nothing but just a kind of making our repetitive task done by our some pre-built processes. So rather than doing something by our own, we would take up the particular pattern, we will see the pattern inside regularly happening things, and we will make an automation out of it, so we don't have to do that redundant task again and again. So that's all about like automations. And why do we need it? To improve the productivity. That's the one of the reason, to ensure data accuracy. So because like automations are making the changes by themselves, so obviously the accuracy would be better, faster process execution, because obviously human intervention is not there, so the execution would be faster, and better customer experience. And yeah, why better customer experience? Because let's say um, okay, so let's say Arun sir is one of our customers and customer into this ecosystem. Now I just want to send him an email. So the moment he onboarded into my platform, I wanted to send him an email like, "Thanks, Arun, for getting started with us." But let's say if I'm doing it by myself, mistakenly, as I'm handling, let's say, so many clients, and mistakenly I wrote, "Hi, Aaron, thanks for getting started with our platform." So that could be a worst nightmare for a person who bought something from us. So yeah, so that's the reason why we automate those things which are very basic, and we get some better customer experience, some better productivity, and the faster execution. So now, let's see this real life use case. So let's say whenever a salesperson marks any opportunity as closed one. So what I want that Salesforce should send you or send that particular customer a thank you email, and they should say like, okay, they should go to the account manager, and they must create some task for them. And we also can do that, like update the account record status as customer, right? So this could be a kind of use case in which we can use flows. So now we have two types of automations. One is declarative and another one is programmatic. So as you can see by this phone, right? This is a Samsung phone. Now what happened, let's say if I need a feature, and the feature is something like from morning 6 a.m to 10 a.m to probably 6 p.m., I want my phone to be in lighter mode, and after 6 p.m. till night in 11 till 11 p.m., I want my phone to be in dark mode. Let's say this is my requirement, and I'm a Samsung's end customer. What I can do? My first approach would be just to go to the settings and check, like, okay, can I make it happen by some default settings? If that is the case, I'll make those settings and I'm happy with my customization. Now, let's say Samsung doesn't offer such features. So what I will do, I'll simply go to Play Store and I'll search for a relevant application and I will download the one. So in that case, if we compare this particular situation with Salesforce, then that's the app exchange. So we'll go to the app exchange, we'll find our feature that whatsoever our requirement is, we'll go to the app exchange, we'll find the one. If something is relevant and cost efficient, we'll download it and we'll get the things done. Then we have, if let's say let's say Play Store doesn't have this particular thing, and Samsung settings also don't have this particular thing, and let's say this is a kind of my do and die requirement. What I'll do, I'll go and find some developers and I'll get that thing done. I'll download that APK and my requirement is full and sorted. So in a similar way, if Salesforce people have, build a lot of standard things within their platform, right? So our approach, what should be our bent of mind? Our bent of mind should be, if something is already existing by the people, Salesforce people, development team have already something created in the standard way. We'll go to the setup console, we will find the things. If the features are already there, then we'll be going to implement the feature in that way. That is the declarative approach. Then if that's not the case, app exchange is, if let's say it's not too much cost efficient for me, then, or let's say if the feature is not relevant as per me, then I'll go in a programmatic approach, that is some Epic, some LWC, some Visualforce. So that's how things work. So now in Salesforce automations as well, whenever I'm thinking to automate the platform, make any business process of mine automated, then two ways are there, declarative and programmatic. So now let's see this thing. We have workflow, process builder, flows, trigger, and approval. Now, as we see workflow, so workflow is towards excellence, and we also see process builder is also towards excellence, and flow is something that is, trending and adopted by everyone. So then we have triggers. Trigger, as you can see, the workflow and the process builder are the workflow is low code, the process builder is low code, the flows is low code, and the trigger is completely codification way to make some automations done. Then we have some kind of complexity. So in workflow, we can only tackle if and else. Like we can only put one condition over there, no multiple blocks of situation I can't handle into that workflow. Then if that's my case, then I'll go with the process builder. And if process builder is also, not helping me out with the requirement that I'm willing to, then I'll go with the flows. Anyway, it's better to go with the flow, because even if we go to the platform and see, everywhere they'll be going to ask, kindly go with the flow. Flow is something which is trending and you have to later migrate on it only. So go and build with flow only. So then we have this trigger. Let's say if any of these ways are not helping me out to fulfill my requirement, then I will write a trigger for it. And then we also have this one more stuff, that is approval. So approval process is also one of the feature in Salesforce that helps us to make the approval thing automated. So we can, let's say if I have a requirement that in, let's say, my O2O process, that is opportunity to order process, I want that whenever I'm giving to the opportunity record more than 30% discount, then escalate that particular stuff, ask the manager of that person, of that opportunity owner's person, then shall we approve it or not, shall we approve this discount or not. So at that point of time we can go with the approval process. But there are some scenarios where approval process doesn't help us out. Let's say whenever we need some dynamic approvers, let's say we need couple of approvers and we want to have some routing on it. So that kind of thing can't be get tackled by approval process. So if our approval requirement is kind of complex, so we can also create flows for them, right? So yeah, that's all about the types of automations we have within the Salesforce. So that is workflow, process builder, flows, approval process, and epics triggers, right? Now, as you can see, epics trigger is something problematic and others are declarative. And now let's see one thing. Okay, so this process builder and this process builder is low code, right? The flows is also low code. Then why the like why Salesforce have introduced flows and why Salesforce says like process builder don't use it, use flows. So let's do one thing. Let's go to setup our settings the way I said Samsung phone settings. So we also have settings in Salesforce. So what I'll do, I'll go to the setup and search for process builder. Process builder. And here we have it. Now, as you can see, try flow builder, but I will not obey this thing and I'll go with the process builder right now. And I'm searching, I'm just typing up create or just writing the things up like test process builder. Now, can I please get connected to the faster internet? Excuse me, sir. Can I please get connected to the faster internet?
There is no net. Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Can you search again? There is Airtel something. Yeah, Airtel Super. This Air at the rate.
Connected. I'm going back to the setup again, so searching for process builder, creating a new process. Yes, this time I believe we are at good spot. Okay, so it asked me up like the process starts when, like when this whatsoever new process I'm creating, this process should start at what situation? I'm saying whenever a record changes. Okay. So now here, this is the process builder interface, right? The second generation automation by Salesforce. Now it asked me up to select the object over here at this point of time. And I am selecting the object that, let's say, opportunity in my case. I'll select opportunity and I want that opportunities, let's say, of amount more than 5,000. And because the object over here is opportunity, so all the fields it will fetch will be also from opportunity. So I just want amount from here, so I'll search for amount. Here's what we get, the amount. Now I would just like to put some condition like it should be greater than 5,000. Now save. So this is my criteria, my if situation. Now add action. Here's what the catch is. You can see here we have multiple kind of action types. In the workflow, we only have 4 actions, but here we have around 11 actions, as you can see. And as the process builder is low code, right? You can see we can add the epics over here. We can make the selection as epics. Hence, we call it as low code because we can take the benefit of epics over here. So now, if it is also supporting epics, everything is fine, then why we have process builder? Why? So let's check this out. So here I'm again going to the setup and searching for the for the flow builder. Now we have the flows. Yes. Okay, so here we have the the page to create to get started with flow, and I'm here selecting next. Just simply clicking on create and action. I'm going to the action page. You can see under the here we can have a look all action 101 items, right? In the process builder, there were only 11 items. Here we have 101 items. So Salesforce want, guys, whatsoever you are doing again and again, I have made it standard. These are some standard action. Go and leverage them. Don't do something gibberish to my platform. Don't make it bulky. And if something is standard, go with that. So Salesforce Flow is, more having more scope. So that's why Salesforce is saying, just go with the flow. Now, I hope we got it. So getting back to our presentation, you can see some kind of these tools and some examples, and I hope we are at, we have already covered it, like process builder and workflows are a tired approval process, what they do and what is flow builder. Now we have this codification way, so we can go with the Apex trigger, we can go with the Apex classes, we can go with the batch Apex, so we can use the invocable method and we can use it inside the flows. So now this is something basically ideal for developers. So if we again talk about the scenario where we have to mark any whenever the opportunity is getting marked as closed won, so we want to send some thank you email, we want to create some onboarding task, and we want to create some update account status to the customer. So how we will automate it then? We will go with the flow thing, flow kind of automation. We can have a kind of if condition, like whenever the stage is closed won, the added action should be send the email plus create the task for the account manager and the an update account with the value like that particular account is now my customer. And if that's not the case, if something is more complex, then I can go with the using Apex trigger. That would be the programmatic way, and write a trigger on the opportunity on the after update situation. So now we also talked about when to use what. If simple logic with the standard object, we can go declarative and not via the programmatic way. If we need complex condition and some loops and recursions, there are so much, so much things to codify. So we'll go with the programmatic way. And if bulk record processing is the situation, then if there are some limited, if I really don't have to, put so many loop situations into my flows, because sometimes what happens, the governor never hits. So I would just prefer using a mix of a blend of both, and then I'll go with the programmatic way for most of the bulk records. And if I want some user facing interactions within the automations, then I will obviously go with the declarative way. Why? Because flows give us the screen flows, so that's why we can go with the declarative way. Now let's discuss about the types of the flow. We can see here we have certainly 8 types of these flows. We will be going to discuss about each of them. Now these two things you can see new. Earlier they were not there. Now, after the agent force thing, we can see data cloud triggered flow and template triggered prompt flow. So we'll discuss in a brief about both of these new flows as well, and one by one about each of the flows. So screen flow, if we talk about, so let's say if I want to put a screen, let's say a sales rep fills out some form. I want my sales rep should have a form where they can put some kind of information about their customers, and they go ahead with the guided kind of wizards. So what I can do, I can create a screen flow. So what exactly they are? So they are interactive flow launched by a user through UI. So user will be seeing a UI, and that will be a kind of guided UI. They will be putting some value, hitting next, next, next until they want to hit next, and until my requirement is. So I'll make such screens, and the moment they save, we can find the whatsoever they have kept inside the screen. Now that thing is inside my Salesforce as objects. So that is the screen flow. And for this situation where my customer is wanting some kind of guided kind of screens, so why in that situation I can't go with the other flows? Because obviously the other types of flows don't give me the way to interact with the end user, and my requirement needs interactivity. Hence, the screen flow will be most relevant kind of selection for my this requirement. Now, let's talk about some other requirement. So this is about like record triggered flow. So when opportunity is marked as closed won, I want to auto send a thank you email, right? So something auto send I want. If my requirement is opportunity is marked as closed won. So what is happening? A record is changing, right? Something UI thing is not happening. Just a record have changed onto normal Salesforce standard screens, and I just want to hit a action to send an email. So that for that particular situation, I can go and select for the record triggered flow, because that here we can work on that CRUD operations. Let's say something if something is creating, and if something is getting updated, then we can go ahead with the record triggered flow. It runs on backend, no front end impact is happening. Now, why not others? Screen flow, obviously not. I just want to send the email, and screen flow doesn't do that. And other flows like schedule. So if I want to schedule something like send an email after 1 week, so I will be selecting schedule. But in my situation, I just want to send it right away. So that's why it's the record triggered flow. And auto launch flow will also don't respond to those immediate action, because auto launch flow is something that needs someone to call him. So that's why the record triggered flow is the relevant type of selection we'll be going to make in this use case. Now let's talk about the third use case that says, let me make this thing bigger. Anyways, no issues. Okay, so fourth one we have auto launch flows. So here a flow that calculates discount logic and launch from some Apex class or some another flow. Let's say in flows we also have sub flow. So if I want, there is a some let's say there is a tricky discount calculation that is happening, and I want to, my business is using that discount calculation for most of the things. So I will create a I will use that logic, I will keep it as a modular thing, I will use it wherever I want to use, and I can call it within, like I will use a subflow component, and I will call that particular flow as a subflow. So it will become my auto launch flow, and it will be get invoked. Its action will be applicable if some other flow or some other thing will be going to call it out. Then we have platform event triggered flow. So let's say whenever a payment event is published from some external system, then at that point of time, we will be going to use this platform event triggered flow. Now, what exactly it is? So let's say if a payment, is coming up to my system, and now I want the moment the payment is coming from the external thing, if I'm getting that particular payment statuses and all, I want a flow to be handled. So at that situation, at that point of time, I'm going to use that platform event triggered flow. So when to use for external system integration via platform events. So why we can't use record triggered flow? Because they don't respond to the platform events, right? So that's why we won't be really going out with that platform event triggered flow. Sorry, record triggered flow, and we'll be choosing the platform event triggered flow. Now, this is template triggered prompt flow. So what happens? Let's say there is a use case. We want to show a agent a quick prompt, right? A quick short dialog box having a prompt. Now, let's say this prompt is saying, please acknowledge the new compliance policy, right? When they log in or take some certain action. So I want a small prompt over there. So at this situation, for this kind of scenario, Salesforce have launched this new type, that is template triggered prompt flow. Now the point is, if screen flow gives us user interactivity, then why Salesforce have launched this thing new? The reason is, whenever we get started with the screen flow, it gives me this much amount of big screen on my screen. Now prompt, I just want to show my agent a small little box giving some information, not a big screen. So that's why for that situation, Salesforce have created this new type so that these kind of requirements can be get accommodated in a standard way. So we have template triggered prompt flow. So as you can see, this user experience speed and purpose fit is the reason why Salesforce have introduced it. So traditional flows that pop-ups with the form and multiple steps, we really don't need it. We just need a small, box over there. So then why traditional flows can't do this well? As we have discussed, it interrupts the agent screen and require unnecessary input or clicks. Then auto launch flows don't gives visual feedback to the user, so we can't also use auto launch flows. And quick action and model pop-up, no, I don't think so it will fit into our case. So that's why there is a new type of flow got created by Salesforce. So as you can see, prompt flows are designed for inline contextual communication, not full blow-in process handling, right? So that was our template triggered prompt flow. अगर आप अकाउंट ऑब्जेक्ट पे आपने मतलब अपना कोई प्रॉम्प्ट हाँ जी, अगर आपका एजेंट फोर्स वहाँ पे सेटअप है और आपने सॉरी राइट, सो वी कैन डू इट, वी कैन डू इट. If I'm saving account record, we can call it. Okay. Oh, then we can call it. Like being a agent, if we are doing so, then it will be helpful for us, as it is for the agents, right? So not as an end user. If I'm doing as an end user, I won't be able to get it. Right. Right. Then we have record trigger orchestrations. So what happens? Let's say if after a case is assigning to some L1 support, okay, and we want to escalate it to L2 after 2 days. So something immediate and something scheduled. Both things are happening. Asynchronous stuff is needed over here. So at that point of time, we'll be going to use this flow. So as you can see, when to use for complex process requiring task assignments across different users or roles, or we can say for different executions are happening if there. So we will be going with the record triggered orchestrations. Then why not to use other? Because regular record triggered flows can't handle multiple user steps, right? So they won't be able to handle those multiple user steps and the pauses efficiently. As our requirement says, L1 support, it is going to be to the L1 support initially, and then later on it will go to the L2 support, or it goes to the L2 support after 2 days, then we want. So for that situation, that's why we have to go with this record triggered orchestrations. Now there is one more flow that is being introduced, that is data cloud triggered flow. So kick off, let's say if I'm kicking off the renewal journey, the moment the CLV exceeds a certain threshold in the Salesforce Data Cloud. Now, CLV is customer's life time value, right? So I want that whenever this CLV, that is customer lifetime value, is passing up any threshold, I just want to make some things happen. So why other flows can't do it? Because those kind of flows are working. Let's say if records, if records status is changing from this to that, right? If something we as an end user doing it manually, now data cloud is something where cloud is having a lot of calculation happening at behind. So we can say there is so much kind of probabilistic things are happening. So let's say for an account, let's say for probability percentage is changing from 75 to something 80, right? That data cloud is processing that thing up. So that thing is not happening on the user end level, right? Because as the way I said, account is getting updated from this status to that status, right? That is something that we are doing. But here in this situation where this customer lifetime value is exceeding a certain threshold, that is some data cloud stuff is doing by itself, and we want that whenever the data cloud is having some processes, having some kind of process inside it, I want that after that particular situation, I want to hit a kind of action. So at that point of time, the data cloud trigger flows are needed. As you can read, so here we have the trigger point. So it triggered by the record field changes, the traditional flows, right? Whereas the data cloud triggered flow, they are calculated insights in data cloud, like this customer's lifetime value or churn scores or something like that. So these values are calculated insights within the data cloud. So whenever these insights are automatically getting calculated as per the data cloud's capability, I want that certain things should happen. So for this situation, for data cloud specific situation, we will be going to use this data cloud triggered flow. Why not this record triggered flow? Because the record triggered flow is invoking is getting invoked whenever a record is getting updated or created, right, on these situations. So that's why we have this new kind of flow, that is data cloud triggered flow. So it's all about the types of flows that we have within our ecosystem. Any doubts still here?
Suppose I have created a scheme and
Hmm.
then I have created multiple steps, right?
Right.
And I want to do something. So suppose I want to perform three steps, and after then I want to uh, keep that third stage as it is for a specific period of time. So can I use the seventh one that we have just discussed, like the record orchestration for this?
Whenever we are pausing the
Yes.
interviews,
But that is input, not record. So how I can manage this?
I
Suppose
can use a subflow. I will create a screen flow. I will use it that particular screen flow as the subflow inside my record trigger new flow that I have created.
but it is not a record figure. It is a string that I have created,
Right.
and I want to perform three steps, and then I want to pause it for 2 days, and after 2 days I want to perform the remaining steps. So is there any possibility to do this by any flow that we have?
We can pause the interviews within the screen flow. As we create the screen flow, we can see there is a pause button as
So how
well.
we maintain the session ID? Because if we pause the flow for a specific time period, then the session ID uh, is gone, right?
Right.
So how do we maintain that?
Okay. So if we go to the setup, there is a kind of page that is paused interviews, right? So we can go to that page and we can find for the session ID there, because that is the most relevant page for the paused interviews that we are having. So we can look into that. Okay. Any other doubts? Are we good to go? Perfect. So This is about that data cloud flow as business move toward the AI-driven and insight-based decisions. So data cloud is the source of truth, but traditional flows are blind to those changes that are happening, those into those calculated metrics. So that's why that data cloud thing we have. So now let's talk about, so it's a a very quick kind of comparison table that you can have a look into. So as we can see into the template triggered flow, prompt flow, and the screen flow. In both of this kind of flows, we have the user interaction. Here the agent is seeing a small prompt window over here, and in the screen flow we have a big windows that are guided interfaces where people can put up some kind of values and they can proceed ahead. Rest here in all rest of the flows, we can't have the user actions. Then trigger type, so screen flow is triggered manually whenever whenever the UI is getting touched. Here, whenever the record is getting created, updated, then the record triggered flow is getting triggered. Then the schedule triggered flows are getting triggered on some time basis. Let's say after 1 week, the task is getting created, send him a reminder email. So for that kind of situation, I'll go and create the schedule flow. So then we have auto launch this flow. This is also getting invoked or triggered by some other APIs process or some other flows. And platform event triggered flows. So whenever my system is having any event, right? So at that point of time, this particular flow will be get invoked. Then data cloud triggered flow, it is invoked on the basis of data cloud objects and this record triggered orchestrations. So on the basis of some record events, and then it is getting this template triggered prompt flow is getting triggered or invoked whenever the template plus whenever we are using that template and whenever user is logging into as the agent and getting started. So these are some situations and the relevant use cases at the side you can see. Okay, so this is how our flow builder looks, right? So here at the top we can see there is a kind of label, back screen, a kind of help button, and then here we have some, from here I can see all the resources from this button, that all the resources that I have used within this flow. Then select elements. If I want to select any kind of element, undo, redo. I want to see if any errors, if I want to change the layouts. We have two layouts, auto layout and freeform layout. We'll be going to see that thing while going to the platform as well. So, and this white area, this big white area, this is the canvas where we build our flows. Here, as you can see, top navigation, main toolbar, and canvas area. There are three segments within that screen. And in the main toolbar, we have some provision to select the elements, delete the particular delete icon we have if you want to remove some elements, and if you want to do some undo redo. And these are some settings, as you can see over here. Now, let's understand that what are exactly the elements within the flow. So let's go to first of all that flow builder screen. This is our flow builder. Here I have a provision to add the elements. Now you can see I have interaction, logic and data elements with me, right? So these are some types of elements that are available within the flow. Now let's talk about what exactly the elements are. Let's say you are, making tea. So the process of, putting the pan on the gas, pouring the milk, pouring the water, pouring the tea leaves and all those stuff. These are some steps, right? So elements helps us to define this step of our automations. So automation doesn't happen like just like Salesforce do this thing to me, yeah. I'm saying it, kindly do it. It don't happen like this, right? We create some set of steps. We bind those steps together, right? And those how we are binding those steps together, we are creating small elements, and they are connected to each other, and together they act as the flows. That is the automation, right? So now we have these certain type of elements with us: screen, action, subflow, assignment, decision, loop, transform. So we'll be going to talk about each of the element one by one. Let's get back to our screen. So as you can see, element types are these, and why they are important because they define what happens at each stage of flow, whether it is showing a form or making a decision or creating a record. So it all starts with an element, right? An element is helping a flow to get built. So here, now let's talk about each type of elements. But before that, let's talk about a use case. So let's say my goal is to automate the customer onboarding by collecting the details of the customer, right? I have a kind of situation. I want to collect the customer details and I want to have their onboarding and save that particular details to my Salesforce and create some task and some gibberish things I want to do out of it. So this is my use case. Now, let's talk about each and every element with the context to this use case. Screen element. So basically it displays the input fields and messages to user. Either in my screen, I display something, right? Or I take something. Either input or output. My screen is having these two subdivisions. So screen elements help me to create a screen to have some inputs or outputs. So for as per our use case that we have just said, so let's say if what we can do, it can be used to capture some customer name, contact or preferences, right? As per my situation where I wanted to have some client onboarding, right? So for that situation, if I want to get it done, I'll create a screen where I can get the customer name, contact and preferences, the entry point. Now actions. So action is one of the element, one of the type of interaction element. Why interaction? Because we are interacting. Either the user is seeing screen or the user is seeing some actions. So and under the actions we can see it executes built-in or custom actions like email, Apex or quick actions. So Salesforce have 101 standard actions and more of them we can build as well. If something doesn't even lies under that 101, we will build more. So now what happened? So what are the action elements? They execute something which is inbuilt or help us to create something custom. So that is our action element. Then we have subflow element that helps me to call another reusable flow inside my current flow. So that's the point about my subflow. Then as you can see, it used to invoke a standard KYC flow for the customer verification. Let's say I already have a customer verification flow, KYC flow within my system. I really don't want to, inside that flow again, I don't want to create that KYC process again. So obviously, I will use my modular thing inside my current flow and I'll get the things done. So this is the one of the use case where we can use subflow element. Then let's talk about the logical elements. Here, assignment. So assignment element helps me to set or change the values of the variable. So let's say it is basically used to store selected relationship manager's ID, right? So let's say I have a variable and to that variable I want to assign a relationship manager ID. How that variable will be knowing like I am meant for that relationship variable ID, right? I have to use that assignment element. Assignment element will be going to the variable and it will be telling that particular variable, okay, sir, you need to take that relationship ID within you. So assignment element is used for that particular stuff. Then we have decision element. So basically, it adds the branching logic on the data. So let's say if I want to make some decision, if here in the example, used to check if the customer is B2B or B2C. So let's say if my customer under the customer record, let's say there is a type value and in that if under the type it's B2B, so we will make it, I will follow the B2B path of execution, and if it is B2C, then I will follow B2C path of execution, right? So how we can make it happen? We can make it happen by decision. Decision element will be equipped to think or compare. Either it is B2B or it is B2C. So that is decision element. Then we have loop element. So what basically loop element does, it repeats the action over the collection of items. So I have either a collection variable or a collection, we can say, or a normal variable, right? Might we have two of the variables for the loop situation. Obviously, there would be a collection variable. So what we'll be doing, if I want some repeated actions to be get happened for that scenario, I'll be using that loop element. Let's say for some, let's say a record variable, a collection variable is having a lot of records within it. Now for each record I want to check a situation. So I want to loop that particular thing up. So that loop part again and again going to all the records of the collection variable, that whatsoever that collection variable is holding, I can make it happen by this loop element. Then transform. So basically it maps and transforms the data from one structure to another structure. Then we have, so for an example, used to reformat the address or preferences data before it is getting saved, right? So then we have collection sort. So collection sort, it helps us to sort the data within a collection variable, and then collection filter. So collection filter helps us to filter the data within the particular collection. What exactly this collection is? Basically collection is nothing but just an array, right? So it is storing a lot of things.
I have a question about the loop one. So suppose it is something like for right.
Right.
We are iterating all the records for that. So when we write the logic in Apex, so we iterate all the records, we do some process on that on those records, and then we collect all the records in a list for further processing or further inserting in it. How Salesforce Flow hold that value? Where it the updated values?
We can create one more collection variable.
Is it
Uh,
there is a variable in which we can store the collection in whatever the since the looping is going on, you want to transform the data, you can store in the collection variable. And then after the loop ends, you can update or whatever is the action perform on the collection variable, you can do that.
okay? So likewise, we have to create one more collection variable
Right.
here, and then we have to store all those.
we can use a transform element as well over there. Okay, so these are some type of the logical elements. Here, the collection sort and collection filter as well we have discussed. So let's say if I want, under there is an example, used to prioritize a task by urgency or time. So if I want to sort that particular collection of records, I can use that collection sort. And if I want to filter something, that used to pick only active onboarding, want to filter something, that's why this collection filter. Now data elements. So we have these certain kind of data elements with us, that is get record, create, update, delete, CRUD operation basically, and rollback records. So what get records do? So it retrieves the record from Salesforce's objects. We have Salesforce objects, and I really want to get some kind of records out of it, out of the some existing records out of my Salesforce objects. I will be going to use this get record element. Then create record element. So whenever I want to create a new record within my S objects, any of the either the standard or the custom objects of the Salesforce, then what I will be doing, I will be using this create record element. And when it will be used with what? Obviously with the screen flow, right? I have created a screen flow. There is a very pretty screen which is having some user inputs, right? But now I want whatsoever user have kept inside it, whatsoever he have feeded it up, I really want to store that user input inside my Salesforce, any of the relevant object where I want to store. So it will happen via this create record element. So create record element will help me to create that user input as the new record in Salesforce. So used to create the new customer record. Then we have update records. So update existing records in Salesforce. So it is used to mark the onboarding status as completed. So let's say whenever that onboarding status completes, I want to get, I want to mark the status as updated. Then we have delete records. So it is used to remove any kind of duplicate or incomplete drafts. Let's say if we have any duplicate or incomplete drafts, we can use this delete record element because it helps me to delete the records from the Salesforce objects. Then we have rollback records. It basically undo all kind of pending, let's say paused interviews, or let's say if there is some incomplete records that are saved, right? If there are some of the incomplete records that are there, if I want to really want to roll back that particular change. Rolling back means like I just want to go back to the prior state. Clear? So if I want to go back to the prior state, then I will use this rollback records element. So it will undo all the pending record changes if flow errors out in between. if flow have any error, so we can roll back the changes which have happened till here. So for that point of time, we use this rollback record element. So these are the interaction and the logic and the data elements within the Salesforce. So these are all the elements.
Rollback will rollback the entire transaction change or the previous to the failure. The node to failure where the to the previous node or the entire transaction.
Either one was going to select like till what we want to buy.
I have charger. Shall I bring it up? Let me bring the charger. Can you pass me the bag? Bag. Thank you. So whatsoever our uncommitted, transaction have happened till now, it will, till the point the transactions are not committed, it will roll back them.
Can we use similar to like that we have in Apex database of statement rollback or to particular node means there are two multiple objects transactions are going on.
So the question over here is the effect we do have a save point, right? For example, I am saving, I do have some process, right? So at that point, I can take the save point. If the rollback will happen, it won't be rollback the whole process. It will only rollback to that save point. So can we do it in the flow? That's what the question, right? So can we do the rollback of the transaction, not the full? That's what the question. So what the rollback means over here? The solution can we roll it rollback, or there is some logic that we can define like till this point it should be rollback. So in
I'm-
Apex, Apex में save point लगा सकते हैं हम लोग.
हाँ 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 हाँ.
So if you roll back, तो फिर that save point automatically roll back. उसके पहले जो हुआ होगा that will process. So save flow, can we do that? That's the question.
Can you put save points over here?
ये roll back तो पूरा कर देगा ना?
हाँ, ये तो पूरा कर देगा.
और ये by default disposition auto commit है और we have to do.
Whenever we are saving anything, ठीक है, और वो उसमें कोई ट्रांजेक्शन कोई एरर नहीं होता, तो the things are auto saving. जितना फेल हो रहा है उतना हमारे पॉज और फेल्ड इंटरव्यूज में हमारे पास रहता है. जितना हमारा सेव जो ट्रांजेक्शन क्लियर हो गई, दे आर सेव्ड.
So the question is save point लगा सकते हैं? Do we have any mechanism save point लगाने का? और it will always roll back all the process. मतलब जैसे for example 10 records आए मेरे पास, 1 record process, second record process, third record process. Now the failing is 4th record.
ओके.
रोल बैक लगाया हुआ है हमने. 4th record में जब fail होगा तो it will be only roll back 4th record only or it will roll back 1 2 3 as well. With roll back करनी है. That's the rule.
आई थिंक इट विल रोल बैक लाइक जो 4 रिकॉर्ड्स ठीक थे
You will उसमें क्या होगा?
पूरा.
हमें transaction का control अपने हाथ में लेना पड़ता है. That's what the question is here. Is अब we are not getting another एक ही move to commit है. We are not really speaking the custom object. So what is the standard behavior? That's the question. So anybody would like to answer that question? पता है या no? So Sanjay, can you repeat the question?
क्वेश्चन इज कि अगर ऐसा होता है कि मेरे एज पर लेट्स से मेरे कलेक्शन वेरिएबल में 10 रिकॉर्ड्स है जो मुझे अपडेट करने थे, ठीक है, 4 ठीक से हो गए, बाकी के 6 नहीं हो पाए, राइट? तो क्या वो पूरा ट्रांजैक्शन रोल बैक होगा या वो 4 रिकॉर्ड सेव हो जाएंगे और बाकी के 6 का क्या होगा, राइट? इज दिस द क्वेश्चन, राइट? थैंक यू.
There are 10 steps in my flow.
ये कर
Suppose there are 10 steps in my flow. I have completed the 4th step. On 5th step, I get an error. And
Right.
I have used this rollback feature in my flow. Like when any error occurs, then it gets rolled back. So our question is it roll back everything or is it going to roll back till a particular step? Like if you are completely done properly, so it roll back to that fourth one. Yeah. or it roll back everything. This is your if I'm not wrong.
I am. I have to get back on this. And any other answers from the audiences? We all are Salesforce expert, I believe here.
So it is something like step point that we are setting in people are asking.
Any kind of suggestion on it? What can happen in this situation?
Let me repeat it again to you. So, normally, I will give you an example. Suppose that we are trying to insert account record and related contact and opportunity. Suppose account got successfully inserted, contacts got successfully inserted, but opportunity got failed. And so, will it roll back to the account level, or it will roll back just the opportunity? I will close time. We are discussing so it is closed.
As per my understanding, it will go till account level. ये पूरा नहीं commit करेगा मेरे हिसाब से. But I have to get back with the optimal answer as I said initially.
And rollback will be always in the fault connectors, or we can do it anywhere.
And the fault connectors, right? Right.
We are at the last step is opportunity, right? And we are doing step one, step two, step three. The whole idea of flow is complete all the steps. Third step is streamline.
As per me as well, ideally it should, do this. But we'll search on it. I'll put this answer on group, and you guys can also keep up your. Yeah. We have an answer. Like we have a kind of. You can come here.
So it might not solve it very exactly, but I had the similar situation back. Like I was inserting the account content in opportunity, and for the opportunity I added the error path. So in that error path I added the rollback. So for that opportunity it only rolled back, and after that rollback element I connected it to the start of the flow. So
Oh.
that was the whole connection. For that opportunity, the only records are going getting rolled back, not the entire thing. Because but maybe it was happening because I added
The way you set
fault
it up, the
path.
flow.
Yeah, so I'm not sure like if I don't add the fault path and I just add it in the like without the fault path, I'm not sure that it won't roll back the whole thing. But yeah, in my use case, it only rolled back the opportunity one.
Because you have the other path of execution that is for failed one.
Fault path, yeah.
Okay, guys. So I will try generating this error, and what will happen? I'll let you know. I'll post this thing on group. Yes, sure.
Okay, so in flow we have a fault path connector and this rollback. So if you guys have there's the FX coding, in FX coding we have a try and catch block. So when we use try and catch block, if some exception comes, we handle it in the catch, and then remaining transaction, whatever we want to do, we can do it in the catch. Same with the flow. If we don't use fault path connector and the rollback, the all flow will be catch rollback in every transaction from the start to end. But if we have a fault path connector or rollback, then based on our condition, whatever the part we want, that will only the rollback.
The question is will rollback at the errors required in that.
No, no, no. Fault path.
Okay. So now let's come up from this, exciting situation, and let's move ahead. And as you can see, we have discussed about like data elements and all those stuff and all the kind of elements. So here we have the resources as well in the flows. So now let's talk about resources. So we have just talked about analogy. That's it, making that tea, right? So now this time we are talking about resources. Now let's try to connect these resources with the same analogy and have a clear understanding what exactly resources are. So for an example, we are making that tea. Now that sugar, that tea, that milk, and each and every kind of substituent, right, which is used within the steps, that was element, right, that are resources. So the elements are the steps, what are the modular steps which are connected to each other and make a whole automation. And what are the resources? Resources are used within the elements, and we are utilizing resources in order to either the store in order to either store the variable or process the variable, process the data within the variable. So that's what like we are doing via resources. So I would need resources. So you can't pass values in between element directly, right? You need something, you need a holder to take the data and pass it to the further element. So that's what resources are doing. Now you can't store and manipulate Salesforce record directly like that without resources. You can't apply logic and show some dynamic content without resources. So like this is the the reason why we need resources. So now there are some type of resources: variable, record variable, correction variable, formula, constant. So variable is nothing but just a normal, holder storing a single value. We have a collection variable which is storing multiple values, right? So then we have record variable. Record variable, let's say I have the opportunity record, right? So what opportunity record variable is? Opportunity record variable will be having all the metadata, that is, let's say, opportunity status, stage, name, X, Y, Z, and all the things that opportunity entire record is having. And we can store each, value to that particular metadata, instance of it. So that's the record variable. Whereas when we talk about record collection variable, so whenever there is an entire variable where there are small chunks of records are storing, and under each record as well, if we zoom in, there are more, details about, like, let's say, opportunity, name, and all those stuff. So whenever all the records variable are collected each other, then collected together, then we create a record collection variable. And a normal collection variable is just a variable holding some multiple singular values. So then we have formula with us that calculates the value using the logic. So let's say if something is happening again and again, I can create the formula resource and I can use it within the element wherever I want to use it within the flow. Then we have constant. If I want to use a constant value, so I can create a constant resource. Then text template, if I want to use, let's say, a kind of formula and a text, right? I want to show your first name is, that is a text, and then I want to append a formula in front of it. Then I will create a text template. Then the choice variable. So if I want to manually create some choices, let's say opportunity have so many stages: opportunity, closed, want closed, lost. Each of this thing, each value is the choice, right? So each value becomes a choice resource. Then we have pick list choice set. So let's say if I already have, let's say in my screen flow, I want to fetch the opportunity stage name. I will just use the pick list choice set. Then record choice set. If I want to create a pick list value from a object's, like let's say there is an opportunity object, and I want that my pick list should contain all the active opportunity. Then I will do what? I will create this record choice set that can take all the records from the opportunity object and all the active records from the opportunity object, and we can show those records as the values of the pick list, right? So this is the record choice set. Then we have stage variables. So it provide the context data. So like let's say this dollar record and dollar user. So whatsoever my current record is, that's data will be stored into that dollar record. We also have dollar prior, so that stores the before update what happened and after update what happened to that record which is under the process, right? So this is the stage variables. So let's do a small hands-on. We'll create a pretty cute flow, and we will be putting a kind of a situation like I would just create a screen flow where we will be storing some kind of value on the contact record, and we will be relating it to the account. So as I said, I would just like to create the contact record. So where I will create, how I will create, I need a screen for it. That's why for this scenario, what I'm choosing, a screen flow. Now, first of all, in order to create any record, I want a screen. So I will use the interaction element, that is my screen element. And here's what I have it. Now it is asking me to put the label on it. So it's simply like contact record creation. It's the API name, just simply clicking on it. Now this is my screen. If I want to remove any of this, buttons from the header, I can go and click on the configure, buttons from the footer. I can go and click on this configure footer, and either I can hide this entire footer, and that's how we can go ahead. And I will simply choose use a custom label if I want just to put some other value rather than finish over here. So let's say I'll just put a value like done. Then I want to hide this previous button and this, let's say, pause button. This. Now I will put some values over here. At the left hand side from the components, I can put some component in my screen. I want to put an input component so my end user can do the inputs. So I'm taking, I at least need one component over here because on the contact object, I'm going to create the record, and for the contact, the last name is mandatory. Hence, at least last name I need. But here I'm taking two. One would be last name and another would be first name. Wind it up faster. So label would be, let's say, first name. And do I want to require it? Not really. And here is the last name. I would make it as required field. And that's it. I've just simply created a screen. Now, whatsoever input is happening within the screen, I want to store that input within my Salesforce contact object. So I am clicking on this plus icon that helps me to add the element. And as I want to create the new record, so obviously I will be opting for a data element that is of create type. I'm creating a record. So what I'll be doing, I'll be simply writing create contact. Now description for this element if I want to put. So how to set the record field values from a record variable or manually? So how the value is coming inside this create record element? Is it coming from a collection variable or any variable? How? Or it's happening from a manual way. So it's happening manually because there is a screen where I'm putting the data. So that's why I select manually. And here it asks me for search, create a record for of this object. Which object? Contact object. So here I will select contact, and here I'm putting the value. So let me Okay, so here I want the value from the screen component that I have created. So here you can see I have selected from screen. I'm mapping last names, screens input last name to the account, to the contacts objects last name. Then I'm also adding one more field, that is first name. And here I'm using this contact record creation element again, using first name and mapping it up. Now, manually assign variable, this checkbox helps me up to store if I whatsoever this record, let's say this record is getting created. Now, if I want to take the record ID of this newly created record, then I will, click check on it. Otherwise, I will leave it. Now, I'm done with it. We will simply click on this close. We will save this. One more thing. We want to relate it to the account as well. I want this created contact to be get related to account, and I will put it on the account record page. So it will not happen automatically, right? So I need to create a record variable, record ID variable, so that it will know to like which account it have to relate itself. So I'll create a new resource in order to make the relation between account and contact. So the new resource will be of variable type. Here I'm selecting the putting the API name. It should be written as record ID. Then here I'm putting the data type. So it will be the text data type. Then allow multiple values. If I check, it will become a collection variable, but I don't really need a collection variable. Here it is asking for two checkboxes, available for input, available for output. So this variable is this will be taking the record ID of the account record wherever my this screen flow will be placed. I'm going to place the screen flow on the account record page. So from account record page, it will take the record ID of current opened account record. So that's why I have to make this particular variable available for input so that it can take some input. Now I'll click on done. I will go back again to the create record element. I will edit this element and I will under the this mapping, I will use account ID, that is the relationship field that is helping me to relate account and contact, and from here I will just simply select the record ID variable that I have just created. Now I'm good to go. I have, as of now, I have everything. I'm saving this flow. Create. I will activate it. Now I will go to my account record screen. So I will simply search for account. I'll open any of the record. I will go to edit page so that I can place this flow. I will search for flows. From here, I will select the flow that I have just created. Create contact, and I want to pass the record ID into this variable so that the contact that is getting created from that particular flow can be get related. Now that's it. We are done with it. I will save it. I'll activate it, and then we will test it. my tech bag and we'll be going to test it. So here I will go to the related contact and I can see new contact have been created, that is Sanskriti Joshi. And yeah, and it also got related to this current account. So that's how like we create the screen flow. And in a similar way, if we have the very clear and crisp understanding about all the resources, all the elements, what exactly they are doing, then it's not hard to create any other flows as per our own specific requirements. So I hope like we are clear with the basics and the concepts so that we can go ahead and create our own flows as per the requirement. So this is one more thing, that is the trigger explorer. So if I go over here to the flow screen, here I can see all the flows, either they are the part of the managed package or unmanaged package. We can only edit the flows which are the part of the unmanaged package. And now here we have this trigger explorer. So it is basically for record triggered flows. So I can check the executions and all over here. So I can select the object for which I want to check the I want to check the execution order of the execution. So for let's say if I want to check for account, I can check for account. So there is one zero item for the fast field update, zero item for the action related record. So that's how I can check the order of the execution using this flow trigger explorer. So this is for record triggered flows. Yeah. So yeah, that's all about it. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining us and patiently listening to me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sanskriti. Thank you.
If you got new flow, then you get an option of Einstein. Can you explain that? When you say
तो आइंस्टाइन में आपके पास बहुत सारे एलिमेंट फ्लो आ जाएंगे बल्कि और आपको अगेन यूनिट लाइक की जरूरत है पर आप उसके अंदर दे सकते हैं है ना